Just because you're aromantic doesn't mean you're asexual, and just because you're asexual doesn't mean you're aromantic. I am on the asexual spectrum, but not aromantic. Like really, really not aromantic. So today, we are going to be talking about something I have been wanting to discuss for a while. And since there's a chance that some of you may relate, and those of you who don't might also find it interesting, maybe, perhaps, I figured I would make a video on it. So let's do it. So, as I've mentioned before, I am on the asexual spectrum. Like pretty much everything, sexual attraction is a spectrum. Running from allosexual, which is people who experience full sexual attraction, down to completely asexual, people who don't experience any sexual attraction. So I myself am somewhere in between the two, in that I don't often experience sexual attraction towards people, and like I definitely never look at people and think like, oh man, yeah, I'd like to sleep with that person. Yeah, so I usually classify myself as demisexual, since that means that basically you need an emotional connection before you feel any kind of sexual attraction towards a person. But for the sake of this video, the important thing is that I am closer to asexual than I am to allosexual. Okay? Okay. Now, there's another term that often comes up when we talk about being asexual, and that term is, of course, aromantic or aro. So if you're not familiar, aro or aromantic means you don't experience romantic feelings. So, you don't really feel the need to partner up with someone in a romantic fashion. Now, if you're aro-ace, aromantic and asexual, that means you are not interested in being with someone romantically or sexually. Just no, just none of that. Just no thank you. But just because you're aromantic doesn't mean you're asexual, and just because you're asexual doesn't mean you're aromantic. So for me, I am on the asexual spectrum, but not aromantic. Like really, really not aromantic. If anything, I am overly romantic in that I spend like way too much time reading romantic stories and wishing that I too could have a romantic partner. But so far, that's okay. That's all right. So that brings us to the subject of this video, which is reading romance while ace. And to be clear, you can be aro-ace, like Isaac from Heartstopper, or the creator of Heartstopper, Alice Oseman, and still enjoy, or even write, romantic stories. But for me, as someone who is on the asexual spectrum but not aromantic, I read a lot, and the stories I connect with the most are usually the ones that involve some kind of romance in the plot. And, the interesting thing is I wasn't super into romances at all until I happened upon YA romances. So that's young adult, in case you're not familiar. And it wasn't until recently that I figured out why young adult romances are so much more interesting to me than quote-unquote adult ones. So, story time. So, last week, I picked up a book at the library, and it sounded great. Like, it was a romance between a queer woman and a trans guy, and it sounded like exactly the kind of like cozy, character-driven plot that I would usually be really into. But when I started reading it, I almost immediately lost interest, because from the moment the main characters met each other, they were both focused just completely on the physical aspects of each other and how much they wanted to sleep with each other, like from the very first moment. So, and let me stress that there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being attracted to people. There's nothing wrong with being interested in sex. Sex is healthy and normal and not something that people should feel ashamed for wanting, especially women who have historically been shamed for being interested in it. But what's also perfectly normal and healthy and good is not being that into it. which is where I am. So yeah, and along those lines, like, I definitely experience aesthetic attraction. So like, I will regularly look at people and feel some type of way. Like, I mean, it's never a feeling of like, I'd like to kiss that person, or I'd like to do more than kiss that person. It's more just like, wow, that is a good looking person, and I want to look at them more and get to know them better if possible. But the great thing about young adult books is that even if the book eventually moves in a sexual direction, it usually starts with the main characters being interested in each other for reasons other than sexual ones. And thus, I can relate to them. They connect as people first, and then it moves in a more physical direction. So there have also been adult romances that I've read that have started off being really interesting to me because the two main characters are getting to know each other, they're discovering that they're attracted to each other, they might even be learning that they're queer through that attraction. But the second it moves into being focused mainly on them having sex, I immediately lose interest. Like, for a lot of people, the sex is the culmination of the whole thing. Like, it's what everything has been leading up to. It's the thing that they've been waiting for. But for me, I'm more in it for like them getting to know each other and having emotional closeness with maybe a side of physical closeness. Like, I would much rather read a book about the two main characters emotionally supporting each other and snuggling than them having a wild, passionate night together. And, you know, lucky for me, a whole lot of YA romances focus on exactly that, which makes it perfect for someone on the ace spectrum like me. And, you know, again, sometimes those books do involve sex, which is fine, but they're usually not super graphic scenes, which also suits me very well, because, you know, I tend to skim over graphic sex scenes because they're just not interesting to me. So obviously there are exceptions in the world of adult romances. Like, for example, one of my all-time favorite queer book series, the Breakaway series by E.L. Massey, is an adult romance that focuses mostly on developing the emotional relationship between the two main characters, and the sexual attraction and sexual situations come after, and they complement and like heighten the emotional bond instead of replacing it. So there are definitely adult romance books that I can enjoy as an ace person, but for the most part, they tend to skew in a more sexual direction, they tend to focus more on the physical side of things, and as such, I can't get into them as easily. Now that I have babbled on for almost 10 minutes, we come to the part where I ask you if you feel comfortable to share your own experiences. So, where do you fall on the spectrum of sexuality, and what does that mean when it comes to what kind of books or media you enjoy? And if you're ace or aro ace, do you find it difficult to get into books that are focused on sex or romance? If you're allosexual, do you feel like you need sex and romance in a book in order for it to be interesting to you? Is there anything that turns you off to a book? So tell me everything, all of it. Tell me all the things. And you know, we love long comments here, so feel free to write an essay if you like. Okay, so yeah, I just wanted to talk about that because I think it's very interesting, the idea of the sexuality spectrum and media and stuff like that, so I thought it might be fun for us to chat about it. So I have chatted, now it's your turn. Let's do it. Okay. Okay, well that's gonna about do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching and liking and commenting and subscribing. And a huge thanks to our patrons who are absolutely amazing and wonderful and fantastic. And a special shout out to our Nick Nelson members, Kelly Walker, Paul Z, Ken Smither, Kim Engel, and Lauren Javier. Okay, have a wonderful rest of your day or night or whatever time of day it may happen to be. And I will see you next time. Okay? Bye.